Greeting. My name is Karen Anderson, and our website is called luminousself.com. And we're glad you're here. This morning, I'd like to read something to you from A Course in Miracles. Usually during meditation time, Barry and I will either open the course at random or read in a more linear fashion through some part of it, either the text or the lessons. And we've been doing this for decades. And no matter how many times we read the course, it seems that there are always new levels of understanding, of integrating, of getting what it's talking about. So when I read this one this morning, it seemed to be something that would be useful to a lot of us because it describes what goes on in our sessions, and it also describes what we can all be doing in our own practices, in our own ways of getting free from everything that we're not. So before I begin the reading, I'd like to just say a couple of words about the Course in general. We've known many people over the years that have worked with the Course, but ultimately put it aside. And part of the reason that some of the people did that is they really had trouble with the languaging in the course, and especially the pronouns. And as a longtime feminist, I can completely relate to what they're talking about because in the course, there's often the use of he and him to refer to the divine and also to refer to Holy Spirit. I have to confess, I don't even have a really deep understanding of what Holy Spirit is. But I still find that even though some of this stuff is not completely apprehendable to me, I still derive a lot of meaning and spiritual support from reading what's in the course. And so for me, it just became easy to put the pronouns aside. I don't think about them that way, and so they are just the way that the people who brought through the course languaged the material, and apparently it was the way it was given. But I can easily adapt what's going on in the course so that it works for me. Other people don't have as easy a time with that, and I understand. Um, but for whatever reason, that's been something that hasn't really bothered me. So, as you listen to this, you're going to hear the words Holy Spirit every so often. And to the best of my knowledge, the Holy Spirit is an intermediary between the vastness and infinity of the divine and us as human beings, human souls in the human experience. So there's some sort of joining, bridging, meeting, melding going on with Holy Spirit. And Holy Spirit seems to be the vehicle that the divine uses to communicate with us down here in the third dimensional realm. So, in case you have the course and you'd like to read along with me, the reading is going to be from the text, the first part of the course, and it's going to be from chapter 14, Teaching for Truth, section 7, Sharing Perception with the Holy Spirit. So here's the part that really spoke to me. I'm going to skip around just a little bit because there were some things I underlined that felt pretty significant that lead into the part that I'll read in total. Light cannot enter darkness when a mind believes in darkness and will not let it go. Truth does not struggle against ignorance, and love does not attack fear. What needs no protection does not defend itself. Defense is of your making. God knows it not. The Holy Spirit uses defenses on behalf of truth only because you made them against it. His perception of them, according to his purpose, merely changes them into a call for what you have attacked with them. Defenses, like everything you made, must be gently turned to your own good, translated by the Holy Spirit from means of self-destruction to means of preservation and release. His task is mighty, but the power of God is within him. Therefore, to him it is so easy that it was accomplished the instant it was given him for you. Do not delay in your return to peace by wondering how he can fulfill what God has given him to do. Leave that to him who knows. Here's the part that I felt was just going straight in for me. You are not asked to do mighty tasks yourself. You are merely asked to do the little he suggests you do, trusting him only to the small extent of believing that if he asks it, you can do it. You will see how easily all that he asks can be accomplished. The Holy Spirit asks of you but this: bring to him every secret you have locked away from him. Open every door to him and bid him enter the darkness and lighten it away. At your request, he enters gladly. He brings the light to darkness if you make the darkness open to him. But what you hide, he cannot look upon. He sees for you, and unless you look with him, he cannot see. The vision of Christ is not for him alone, but for him with you. Bring, therefore, all your dark and secret thoughts to him, and look upon them with him. He holds the light, and you the darkness. They cannot coexist when both of you together look on them. His judgment must prevail, and he will give it to you as you join your perception to his. Joining with him in seeing is the way in which you learn to share with him the interpretation of perception that leads to knowledge. You cannot see alone. Sharing perception with him whom God has given you teaches you how to recognize what you see. It is the recognition that nothing you see means anything alone. Seeing with him will show you that all meaning, including yours, comes not from double vision, but from the gentle fusing of everything into one meaning, one emotion, and one purpose. God has one purpose which he shares with you. The single vision which the Holy Spirit offers you will bring this oneness to your mind with clarity and brightness so intense you could not wish for all the world not to accept what God would have you have. Behold your will, accepting it as his, with all his love as yours. All honor to you through him, and through him unto God. That ends the reading from the Course, and I don't have much to add. It's so lovely in what it is. And if the languaging is a little bit abstruse for you, just listen to it again. Because what I've found with the Course is that even if we don't think we understand what it's saying, it's absolutely going in, and it's recoding our neural pathways and our minds to accept the truth that it holds. When I was in my 20s, I worked at a used bookstore, and every so often I would see this very mysterious blue book with gold writing on it called A Course in Miracles. I didn't know anybody who was working with the Course at that point, but one day I picked one up and took it home and began working with it. And would you believe I worked with it for an entire year? I did the lessons. The text was way beyond my pay grade at that point, but I did the lessons every day for a year. I really had no idea what they were talking about, but everything in me knew that it was all true. And so that was my first experience of reading something that was beyond my evolutionary point at that moment. But knowing somehow it was respatializing my consciousness in a way that felt really important, even though I had no conscious idea of what was going on. And it rarely made any sense at all to my mind. So if a course has been kind of inscrutable to you, take heart because it remained that way for me for years. And every so often I would pick it up and work with it again. And very gradually, over many years, it's probably been about 45 years now since that first year that I worked with it every day, having no idea what was going on. And it just continues to reveal itself to me and to Barry. We are just continuously humbled by what is in that book. And we just know in our hearts and souls that it was a gift from Christ. It was brought through people that, did not have that on their agenda. They had no intentions of being vehicles for the Christ to bring a new teaching to the planet, but that became the role that they fulfilled during the later part of their lives. So, what struck me about this, I'd say on the deepest level, was that we all tend to have so much guilt and shame, so much embarrassment about what lies within us on a human level. We all feel that we want to hide certain aspects of what goes on in our psyches. And a lot of times we even want to hide them from ourselves. And that's the condition of a lot of humanity. We see humans attempting to avoid and deny and move away from what's going on inside of them in a myriad of ways. And we can have so much compassion for that, especially when we realize there are parts of ourselves that we find really hard to face and hard to accept and hard to bring into the circle of our love. So, what this is saying to me is exactly what goes on in session after session in our experience, that what remained hidden is brought into the light. When we turn the session, or when you turn your meditation time, your inner work time over to God and Christ, Holy Spirit, and everyone you work with on the higher levels, you will be guided impeccably into the places within you that are ready to have the light shined upon them. They may not be the places that you thought were next in line, but since the soul has access to infinite intelligence, it guides us beautifully and unerringly toward exactly what is ready to be brought into truth next. And this passage of the Course to me just really emphasized that point. Don't try to keep anything hidden. Don't try to bury it under a raft of ways of avoiding it. It will come to light eventually. And on this journey of awakening, we can know and trust that eventually, in some lifetime or other, some level of being or other, everything will be brought into the light of the One, because that is the ultimate truth. That's the ultimate reality. Everything else is just an illusion, a delusion, and a manifestation of confusion. It's just a temporary appearance, a bubble rising up in this simulation that we call earthly life. But it will recede, it will go into truth when it's ready. It will find its way into the light of oneness and of full realization when the time is right. And we can trust that. So conversely, in sessions and in your own inner work, there's no need to go digging. There's no need to, try to force something to be brought into the light, because that wouldn't be in divine timing either. There's no way to think, oh man, this is such a gigantic issue. I really better get to work on it. That isn't the way it happens. Everything is wound together in a way that only the soul can unravel. We've learned this and we've become more and more humble about it over the years. At first, when we worked together, we used to think we might know what was trying to happen, and we would attempt to steer the session in a certain direction. And the person would inevitably say, no, it doesn't want to go that way at all. It wants to go this other way. And we would just feel chastised and kind of step back into ourselves a little bit and realize that we were coming from our heads. And that's always the correction that that needs. And that we could just once again drop into our hearts, drop into our soul space, and let that be the guide. So I hope this has all been meaningful to you. I'd love to hear in the comments how it strikes you and how it echoes some things you're realizing in your journey. And I send you lots of love and blessings. Namaste.